Hello.
This is ye old indie dude. My name is Jeff Adams,
And ye young indie dude.
and yeah, my guest today, and I'll get into that in a minute. Young indie dude. So my name is Jeff Adams. I've been an indie musician for quite a long time. I've been playing for a long time.
It's pretty good.
Jamming out. This will be like our episode number 4. My guest today is my oldest son. His name is Jace Adams, and as much as I try to discourage him, in regards to pursuing music as something to do, because I don't know how smart of a concept it is in today's society, he's doing it anyway, and I am proud of him because he's a really talented musician and a very good songwriter. As a matter of fact, I want to cover some of the things that he's written, just because
That'd be really flattering.
I'm really really loving it. That one tune you do called "All I Need to Get By."
Yeah. That's the one off the new album. Yeah.
Is that
really say? Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys talk to Jason. So go ahead and talk to him. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm hearing the voices.
The reason I wanted to have Jace on today because he's releasing a new album. He has a band called. Why don't you talk about that, Jace? Jace Adams has a band called The Bakers.
Yes, I do.
And go ahead.
Well, it's made up of my cousin Austin, and I won't say last names because I don't want to dox anybody. But my friend Paul and his sister Mary, and it's basically like a big band of like experimental, kind of like psychedelic rock, but also a little bit of electronic elements in there too. Whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of experimental type beats and stuff like that. We all like to come together and make really unique things, but at the same time we reminisce on like old styles like the Beatles and stuff like that. A little bit of Ben Folds-esque things here and there, just taking bits and pieces here and there, trying to do what I can to get by. No, but we have a new album coming out. I'm releasing it the day after tomorrow, August 6th, on SoundCloud, and I'm waiting on the distributor to release it elsewhere, such as Apple Music, Spotify.
All the major online retail outlets kind of scenario, or the majors, should we say.
This album is to be called Time Machine, and it's a concept album based around the listener, you, the listener, if you had a time machine and where you would go. And it's just really, like, I thought of it while I was in the shower one day, and I was like, well, this album would be like infinite possibilities, so you might as well, a lot of creative stuff in there, a lot of cool stuff from the other band members too. I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
I've heard a lot of it. Obviously, we have 2 studios in our home, 2 home studios. Of course, I run Bucketstomp Productions from my kitchen, and then also I guess my basement. And then Jace has his studio. He calls it Stewed. It's it's up in his room, and he has a bunch of things going up there with varying degrees of technology. I'm more of an old school format kind of thing, but I wanted to talk more about that time machine thing.
Either the Stewed or the bakery.
Because the bakery.
Because we're the bakers,
Well, the bakery could be like the name of the room. Like we used to call the room we jammed in like the parlor.
The parlor.
But that wasn't like our studio name. That was just like we jammed at the parlor. That was our spot.
It sounds like a cool name.
But and those were fun times. But anyway, I wanted to go back into that time machine concept because it seems to be like a prevalent thing right now, and I don't know
like what's with all the obsession about futures and pasts and like time now.
Whether that has to do with the pandemic and everything being very funky at the moment in regards to funkiness.
Yeah.
But let's say there's the legendary artist Kitaro. You ever hear of Kitaro?
I don't think so.
Yeah, sort of like a new age music, a Japanese guy. Really, one of my favorites from a long, long time ago. I just saw something that he released called Time and Space, I believe, or Space and Time, or something along those lines.
Got to before me.
No, I don't know if he did, or it's around the same time. But
And you got Billie Eilish with my future self.
Oh yeah. I didn't think about that because I was going to mention another friend of mine, Killer Cam. No,
Cam.
Cambino he calls himself. Dude has a something that he released. I'm not sure if it's a whole piece or just a one single yet. But it's called Space and it's called Time and Space is what he calls it. And then I just wrote a song called Space Time.
Space time.
Last month, and I was planning on putting that out on a future EP that I'm working on now.
Do you know what the EP is going to be called?
Loosely, I'm not going to call it Space Time if I can avoid it. I don't know. No, I don't know what it's going to be called yet because I mean I have most of it put together, but the more I put it together, the more it seems like I might have enough material for an album. And then I'm thinking, yeah, I already released an album this year, and how hard should I work to release something else as like, new material this year? Whereas,
well, you don't want to rush perfection, but you
exactly.
also don't want to let perfection process get in the way of releasing stuff.
I agree with that 100%. However, I don't think that I want to tax myself with like over productivity because that kind of busyness, if you are like putting yourself to a deadline that would say, okay, well, I'm going to do this by October, and then you get there and you're like, wow, shoot, I thought I was going to be there or closer to there by now, because things oftentimes will take a little bit longer than you think they will when you go to start. Almost everything that I go to think, oh, that'll just take a few minutes, and then whether it's entering a username or password in order to accomplish a task, or in order to all these what we say hoops that you have to jump through, where it's just a matter of getting things done. There's processes, and they take time, and that's
just like the distributor releasing my album. It was supposed to be released already, honestly. They just didn't review my album in time or approve it in time. Just more hoops to jump through for sure.
I think it's also a matter of reading the fine print in things regarding distribution, so that you know that you're doing the due diligence behind the scenes before you go out and say, hey, this is my release date and this is what's going to happen, and then find out that that's not the case. But with your album, of course, there's the weakness in the fabric of the space-time continuum. You have that excuse, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah,
everybody understands that sort of thing. It happens to everybody.
My future self came back and told me that I'd be more successful if I waited a couple weeks, so that's what's gonna happen.
I thought it was that somebody from an alternate reality, yourself from an alternate reality, already released it, and like it bled through to the Instagram on this reality. Parallel universe theory. It's a little different than time travel, but maybe not.
Well, we will see.
We will see.
Listen to the album to find out.
Yes. And
but you know what else is a cool song that got released recently that's about like time travel? Well, it's not about time travel. It's like it's a band called Oʟᴅᴇ Bonito, and it's like sounds like a very like girly Japanese pop band, but that's kind of how they started, but then they advanced into the realm of more of a psychedelic rock. Really? It's really interesting. They blended the two styles very well, and that's like a 2019 release or something like that. But I think it was before the whole pandemic started, but I think that's what maybe kickstarted the whole thing, because the song is called Dear Future Self, and the whole album is called Time and Place. And it's basically about taking advantage of the time you have given to you. There's a lot of good stuff on that album. It's really cool. But the song Dear Future Self, it's a big inspiration to me.
Maybe that's another thing, like you're touching on, like why there's so many thoughts. When I talk about songwriting, I talk about oftentimes like an external force that sort of flows, and I call that the muse. Everybody think, it could be like self-inspiration, but I think that there is a oneness, and the reason why certain tones and certain themes are popular at certain times, right, is that everybody's kind of on the same page to a degree at the same time. So when you say something like let's make the most of the time that we have, and think about the present moment, and that way, that sort of could it be thematic as to why people are writing so many things in regards to time right now.
Yeah, it's because we kind of do have to take advantage of all the free time we're given. Everyone's like off work right about now, or
Not everybody, but
a
but
lot of people.
there are a lot of people off, and but the thing is, making the most of your time too is because the future at the moment seems very indeterminate as to what's going to happen next, and even the fabric of reality, like society as we understand it, economy as we understand it, these
Everything's
things are
being challenged.
these things, yeah, exactly, challenged, and almost in a state of flux as to what next will be, and that sort of thing does it increase the mystery. And then how do you handle the stress in that regard? Well, we
Make music.
make music. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we do, and then a lot of other people have other outlets too that are wonderful. And that's one thing I've got to say. Even though this is a YouTube kind of thing that we're doing, I love YouTube. I've learned so much through other people that are doing similar things, and also other people that are doing completely different things, and motivational in regards to time management. And I will go through names in the future. I think I want to reference other YouTubers that are out there that are doing things that I'm finding to be thoroughly inspirational. But I don't want to do that with I want to be more comprehensive when I do it, and so that maybe I'll just dedicate some more time and be more thorough, because if there's a list of people that I'm really I'm really getting, I wouldn't say getting a lot out of, but it's entertainment and information, and that's what the YouTube is really awesome about. And I've been really enjoying content throughout the time of quarantine, and then after, of course, and then being motivated to do this now. It's been a matter of, well, of course, I'm doing a lot of music, and that's what this show is all about. Is trying to talk about the indie music, and our own trials, efforts, things that we have to endure, because it's not an easy prospect. Everybody faces discouraging times.
It's very challenging, especially when you're met with haters. You're met with people who just like would rather, instead of saying good things about your music, saying things that you could change, which is important at the same time.
Well, constructive criticism is seen.
But it's a tough time to be a musician, because everyone's got music out there, and everyone can do it better than you. Everyone can do it better than me too, and it's just like a matter of growth.
I love this guy. Well, I mean, not just because he's my son, but the things he's saying, because he's coming from a perspective that I identify with, because I started out in an era where, when I first became a musician, my thought process was, I want to make a record. And when I say I wanted to make a record, that was vinyl. And when I was making a demo, it was on a gigantic reel-to-reel device. And technology changed from that to the CD, and then that predominated the era. And of course, that we're still operating within a similar paradigm. But of course, once the year 2000, I think this happened in 1999, is when Napster came about. The original Napster platform. They still exist, however, they're a paid platform now. When they first,
like music streaming.
yes, they were a peer-to-peer program at first, and it was music sharing platform primarily, and I think just file sharing in general. And there's several of them out there in existence still, in various degrees of legality. But Napster originally was this big file sharing thing, and that really changed the entire industry as far as, well, CDs became out of fashion big time. So
yeah, there are a lot less people buying CDs and more people just paying for Spotify nowadays.
Right, and that's what is now, is the streaming, and well, does that make it easier or harder? Because before, right, everybody complained about a huge industry controlling all things, whereas it was so hard for the independent musician to do anything, because we're held back by these huge industries.
I think that's always been the case, honestly.
Well, I don't know that it's so much the case anymore, except for that the industry has changed, so that. But I think that the opportunity for the independent is greater, and which is like, I'm not saying that to encourage you.
It's definitely less difficult now, though. That's the thing. Like,
you can make nicer sounds a lot more easily now than I could probably, with a lot less money, is what I'm saying.
Like
And
instead
also,
of spending $1,000 on a mixing board, like an 8-track, I can spend $1,000 on a MacBook, which can have an app on there, which I may or may not have stolen. But that's the thing.
I
didn't
don't want to
just
hear that.
Would you mind if I pause this real quick so I can take my sweater off?
Go ahead.
We can just edit it out. Bruh.
And now we're a few minutes into the future.
Yes.
So what were you saying?
I was saying nowadays it's a lot easier to get into it, but it's a lot harder. Not harder, but like it's a little bit more challenging to stay with it. Cuz when back in the day when you're like getting started, it takes a lot to like put investments into getting a guitar and getting like all the equipment. But then when you're already there, you're like, well, I'm already here, you know, I might as well keep going. Right now, it's kind of like, well, I didn't have to put a lot of work into getting here, so I might as well give up.
Well, I want to say, I don't know if that's an impetus for that sort of thing or not. I mean, maybe for some people, but I'm thinking along the lines of the amount of media, the sheer amount of media that's available now, and you don't have a
It's discouraging.
you don't have a frame of reference because, well, in the old days,
Back in my day,
I really, it really was a completely different thing. There wasn't as much saturation of media. Maybe there was, but it was a different kind. Like,
yeah.
so it was all television and newspaper, magazines, billboards, and such. More stuff in emerging technology. But now, today, the preponderance is just so
many young musicians too.
everywhere.
It's discouraging to see how like all those people who are as young or younger than me are way more talented, and it's just hard to.
Hey, don't compare.
Exactly.
That's
what I was about to
right
say.
now, there are people that are astronomically phenomenal. There really are. However, it's not a competition. I think that the sounds that you make, the creativity that you show, there's genius there. And also, let's consider the thing I was talking about before. If we're talking about a muse and the fact that it comes from an external source, well then, maybe one way or another, it's not your fault. Now, your own technical expertise, that you can control.
Exactly.
And if you want to, improve upon that, that definitely is a matter of just learning and practicing it. But the thing is this. You have an awesome talent, so please don't denigrate yourself as far as your talent. I think that you're phenomenal.
Thank you.
Or I wouldn't jam with you. So on that note, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today on this
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
This little rendition of Ye Old Indie Dude, and Yo Old and Young, and I'm really like I do this
Second generation old indie dude.
Yeah, future old indie dude. Tying in with the theme of things. Past, present, and future. Things are going to change. So you're going to start out now. And I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you. You're going to start out now doing your thing, if that's the case. And you're going to find that in 20 years, the technology is going to be completely different, or 20, 30 years, whatever.
And you're going to be
10
outdated,
years.
And you're not going to want to change your ways. But the important thing is to not compare yourself to other people, and to compare yourself to your past self. So, like, if you look behind you and you say, man, that song sucked, it's probably a good thing, because that means that you can do better now.
I've written songs that I'm embarrassed about to this day.
Same here.
I hope that the copies of which will never come about. Or resurface, shall I say. But anyway, hey, thanks for listening. Well, I should have said so in the beginning, and I mean to say so more often. I'm just not used to advertising myself so much like this, but I suppose I'll get more used to it. But please, if you would be so kind, just push the subscribe button, hit the bell, and the likes and stuff. Yeah, please just show me some love, man.
Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever you post anything.
Oh.
Follow the Bakers on SoundCloud, please. It mean a lot. We need to pay the electricity bill.
Yes, indeed. Whatever that would be.
For all our electric guitars and whatnot,
Yikes.
Using a lot more electricity.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next time.
Peace.